Om Jnana Trimandasya Jnanangana Salakaya Chakshusumritam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishta Stapita Yena Bhutale Sayurupa Kadamanya Dadati Swampadantikam Bandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutam Padakamalan Sri Gurum Vaishnava Vimuchas Sirupam Sakjatam Sahagana Raghunatha Tapitamita Sajivam Sadhuitam Savadutam Parijanam Saita Se Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Parasahagana Lalita Sri Vishakavitam Scha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanto Radha Kanta Namastute Tata Kanchana Gorange Radha Vrindavadivniswari Vishabhanu Sutadevi Panamami Hari Priye Panchaka Patavabhyascha Kripasundhe Vacha Patitanam Pavanavibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prima Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Goratishe Namaham Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadahara Sivasadi Guru Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Ananda Lila Maya Vigrahaya Himavit Sarasundara Tasma Maha Premarasa Padaya Chaitanya Chandayo Namanamastati. So I'm glad to be here this evening on the Zoom lecture of our ISKCON Vrindavan. So I thank everyone for being here, and for those who are listening from Facebook side. So we are continuing the reading and discussion of the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna's instruction to Arjuna. So today's verse is the chapter which is on the Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, which is, I think the earlier editions of the Bhagavad Gita, this chapter is labeled as Sankhya Yoga, the earlier editions of the Gita. But here it said Dhyana Yoga. So Dhyana Yoga or Sankhya Yoga, they're basically the same. Sankhya means the analytical, like Sankhya means branches. It means to put things apart. That's what Sankhya means. Analytical, understanding of yoga process. So Sankhya Yoga. But Dhyana Yoga, which is basically meditation. Dhyana means to meditate. So I think the meditation will be more appropriate to the chapter, because this is what Lord Krishna is discussing with Arjuna about what is yoga, what is sannyas, and the process of controlling the mind. So this is all will be discussed in this chapter, chapter 6 of the Bhagavad Gita. So text number 2. Yam sanyam samiti prāhur yogaṁ viddhi pāṇḍava nahi asannyasta-saṅkalpo yogī bhavati kaścana. Yam, what? sannyāsam, renunciation. Viddhi, thus, just get here. Viddhi, thus, prāhur, they say, put this one here. Yogaṁ, linking with the Supreme, tam, that, viddhi, you must know, Pāṇḍava, O son of Pāṇḍu, na, never, he certainly asannyasta, without giving up,
প্রোগ্রাম কি হচ্ছে দাদা এখন দেবাশিস সময় আসবে নাকি বলছে
saṅkalpo, desire for sense satisfaction. Can somebody meet over there? Okay. Yogī, a mystic transcendentalist, bhavati, becomes kaścana, anyone. So translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. What is called renunciation? You should know to be the same as yoga or linking oneself with the Supreme, O son of Pāṇḍu. For one can never become a yogi unless he renounces the desire for sense gratification. Purport. Real sannyas yoga or bhakti means that one should know his constitutional position as a living entity and act accordingly. The living entity has no separate, independent identity. He is the marginal energy of the Supreme. When he is entrapped by material energy, he is conditioned. And when he is Krishna conscious or aware of the spiritual energy, then he is in his real and natural state of life. Therefore, when one is in complete knowledge, one ceases all material sense gratification or renounces all kinds of sense gratificatory activities. This is practiced by the yogis who restrain the senses from material attachment. But a person in Krishna consciousness has no opportunity to engage his senses in anything which is not for the purpose of Krishna. Therefore, a Krishna conscious person is simultaneously a sannyasi and a yogi. The purpose of knowledge and of restraining the senses as prescribed in the Gyan and yoga processes is automatically served in Krishna consciousness. If one is unable to give up the activities of his selfish nature, then Gyan and yoga are of no avail. The real aim is for a living entity to give up all selfish satisfaction and to be prepared to satisfy the Supreme. A Krishna conscious person has no desire for any kind of sense self-enjoyment. He is always engaged for the enjoyment of the Supreme. One who has no information of the Supreme must therefore be engaged in self-satisfaction, because no one can stand on the platform of inactivity. All purposes are perfectly served by the practice of Krishna consciousness. So, yam sannyāsaniti prāhur, yogaṁ viddhi pāṇḍava, nai asannyasta-saṅkalpo, yogī bhavati kaścana. Let me just change my connection to, just in case the light goes off. So I just change my connection to mobile phone. So that can be more stable. In my back. My So am I clearly audible? Okay. So interesting subject by which the Lord is discussing here in the chapter 6 of the Bhagavad Gita about sannyas. Give my phone. About sannyas and yoga in terms of what's the difference between the two. So the Lord is clearly saying here that there's no difference between sannyas and yoga. The Lord said is the same thing. So this is in this verse, yam sannyāsam iti prāhur yogaṁ tam viddhi pāṇḍava, that there's no, that the sannyas, the renunciation, and yoga is essentially the same thing. And many acharyas, they have given their particular commentaries. They give their particular commentaries. As far as the Ishwara Prabhu give commentary, and of course, Ishwara Prabhu is much more elaborate in the commentary on this particular verse. As was a yoga be perfect. At the stage whereby one has reached a stage whereby all one's uh, mental processes is focused on one person. And of course, that one person is God, Krishna. Because the word yoga means to connect or to be in union. So yoga means to connect or to be in union. But what can only be in union? It's not that one has to be in union with the void. This is not voidism, nirvana. Like the impersonalists or the so-called the materialistic meditators, yogis. They want to be, especially the impersonalists, they want to be one with the impersonal aspects of the Supreme, which means the Brahma Jyoti, the light. They want to merge with the light. And why they want to merge with the light? Because of the bad experience with this material world. Because being this world, which is full of misery, miseries, not just miseries, Jama Mrityuk Jara Vyadi, birth, death, old age, and disease. So, basically there is no, there can be no peace in the material world, actually. Material world is always a constant state of chaos. One is always constant state of anxiety. Even though there may be some relief temporarily whereby one is so-called in a happy situation. But the main foundation of the material world is that to be perpetually a state of misery. It's always on fire, let's put that way. Just like sometimes people will talk of peace. They talk of having a peace in this world. People are, this is like very famous thing to conversing for peace. But you're in a place that is always always on fire. You're in a house, you are in a house that's always burning, and then you're talking of peace. The house is on fire, and we are thinking of, okay, how can I make the best arrangement, so that the fire does not touch me, or so that is stupidity. But if a house is on fire, what do? Run out of the house, get out of the house. Why you want to make the most want to make the most a burning house? Just get out. That's the sign of someone who's actually intelligent. Okay, he wants to get out of the house. So the transcendentalists, they want to get out of the house. So now there are three types of transcendentalists. You have the Gyanis, yogis, and the bhaktas. The Gyanis means the impersonalists. They want to get out of the material world and merge into the impersonal aspect of the Supreme. They want to be Brahmajyoti, merge with the Brahmajyoti, which is the supreme light. But that light, of course, like Krishna said, that he said, I'm the basis of the Brahmajyoti. He said, Brahmano hi pratistaham. He said, I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman. Krishna says that. But the impersonalist meditators, they don't know that. They don't have this understanding. So to them, it's like there's nothing beyond. There's nothing beyond the personal liberation. There's nothing beyond that. And then, of course, the yogis, they are much more elevated than the personalists. So the yogi, they tend to meditate on the Paramatma, the supreme within the heart. And then, of course, the yogis also tend to be the mystics also. Now, above the yogis, above the impersonalist meditators are the bhaktas, the devotees. So devotees of Krishna, what did they do? They simply render service unto the Supreme. They render devotional service. Just like in this purport, where Ishwara Prabhu is talking about the natural activity of a living entity, the living entity's natural state of life. So what is the natural state of life of a living entity? The natural state of life is to engage in the service of Krishna, is to give happiness to Krishna. This is called Anukuyena Krishna, no? Anukuyena Krishna, no Silana Bhakti Utana. So Srila Rupa Goswami is defining Bhakti to be Anya Bilasita Sunya Gyana Kama Gyana Vritam. Anukuyena Krishna, no Silana Bhakti, Bhakti Utana. That process whereby there is no desire for any other thing. Anya means anything. There's no consideration of anything. There's no consideration for speculative knowledge. No speculation for speculative knowledge. Anya Bilasita Sunya Gyana Kama. Kama means all kind of activities. Kama di. Vritam is to cover. Vritam is totally covered. So it means that process whereby there is no consideration for kind of activities, kind of gyan, speculative knowledge. But that process by which it simply means Krishna Nusilanam, that process by which Krishna is satisfied, Krishna is happy. That is pure bhakti as defined by the great authorities. Krishna Nusilanam, which means one perform all one's activity for the happiness of the Supreme Lord, for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. And, it's there in all the scripts, especially in Bhagavatam, whereby Sutta Goswami said that Savai Punsan Paroda Moyato Bhakti Adokshaje, Ahai Tuki Apatiyata, the Atma supersedity. That what is that supreme occupation? That supreme occupation is that by which the supreme law is satisfied. That is the supreme dharma of the living entity. And that supreme dharma is completely satisfying. It's totally satisfying because when one directs all one's activity for the pleasure of Krishna, because Krishna is the reservoir of all pleasure, is the reservoir, of all bliss. So the jiva, because the jiva who is actually part of Krishna, so the jiva also become happy. Ananda Maya Vyasat. Ananda Maya Vyasat means that yes, that reservoir of happiness, reservoir of bliss. So the living entity becomes situated in that natural position of being, because he's servant of Krishna, realizing himself as a servant of Krishna. So living entity is happy by engaging in that natural occupation. When Chaitanya Prabhu, when he was instructing Sanatana Goswami that what is the supreme occupation of a living entity? So Mahaprabhu said, Jivira Swarupa Krishna Nityadas, that yes, the living entity is eternally servant of Krishna. So living entity is eternally servant of Krishna. But how come we in this material world, we are claiming ourselves to be the master? We are claiming ourselves to be the master of all we can survey. So how come? As mentioned here, the living entity is in the marginal, it's the tashta position, marginal potency of Krishna. So being marginal, so which means being marginal position of being part of the lost tatashta or the marginal energy of Krishna. So the living entity has got a choice of either to look towards the spiritual world or to look towards the material world. So when the living entity chooses to look towards the spiritual world, then he becomes a devotee. He's a devotee. He's a Nitya Siddha. He renders service unto Krishna. So whereas when the living entity decides to look towards the material energy, this is called Krishna, which means it turns the face away from Krishna. This is called Krishna Bhaimukha. And then at the moment the living entity turns the face away from Krishna, look towards the material energy. So what happens is that the material energy captures the living entity and put the living entity in her bondage. So the living entity becomes in the bondage of material energy. And the result, of course, is samsara dukkha, which means the samsara is the cycle of a repetition of a birth and death. And this goes on for like since it's been going on since eternity. And one cannot really determine since when has the living entity been in this material world. It's been there for so long. Because the living entity is eternal, there's no death for the soul. The soul is eternal. But the soul, being the material world, has to undergo countless numbers of birth, death. He has to travel through so many universes. According to the activity that he has performed, according to the karma, he has to go through many universes, through so many species of life. Sometimes it's an insect, and sometimes it's Indra, like Yasu in the Gopam Avalambia, that sometimes the living entity may be Indra and sometimes may be Indragopa. Indragopa means a tiny insect, or it can be in between. So the living entity travel, this is the journey of the living entity in the material world. That's how the living entity journeys in the material world. So, this goes on. That's why my Prabhu said that now when will that journey stop? So that journey will stop when the living entity becomes fortunate, Bhagya, Bhogyavan. So when does it become fortunate? When it comes in contact with a sadhu who is a devotee of Krishna. Brahmanda, Brahmite, Kona, Bhogyavan. Guru Krishna Pashati Pai Bhakti Lata. So when that jiva somehow he come across a dear devotee of Krishna, when they come across their devotee of Krishna, that is where the fortunate position entity begin. And then under the direction of a pure devotee of Krishna, so the person, that living entity start engaging in devotional service of Krishna. So Bhakti Lata, the devotional kripa is planted, and then by watering the seed of that kripa in the form of hearing and chanting, hearing the Guru, taking initiation, and do sadhana bhakti. Then in that process of watering the devotional kripa, so bhakti grow, bhakti develop. And then by bhakti develop, then the living entities can come to its natural state of life, which is to be a devotee of Krishna. And then once that natural state is realized, so the person, the jiva become happy. So the happiness is there. So the Lord is explaining here this process, because in the previous chapter, in chapter 5, the Lord talks about different types of actions that those who are on the path of let's say on the path of transcendental, on the path of transcendence. So the different type of sacrifices are described, and also different types of actions, karma, are also described. So we've gone through all that, the sacrifices of the like of the oblation ritual offers, and also different type of karma. Now there's karma, and then there's karma yoga. Karma is simply just normal activities, ordinary activities. Now, when we add the word yoga to it, so that karma becomes transformed. So there's just normal karma, which is ordinary activities, by which we perform in this material world, and which increases our bondage in the material existence. Because basically, whatever actions we perform, we get a particular fruit for it, a particular reaction for it, and that will determine our situation, either in this life or next life. That will determine it. But when this karma is directed towards the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, then it becomes karma yoga. Because as we said earlier, yoga means to connect. Yoga means to link up with the Supreme Lord. There can be no other definition of yoga. That's only that's only the redefinition of yoga, which means to link up with the Lord, which means to all one's activity is dovetailed into the satisfaction of the Lord. So that is yoga. So when all our activities are directed toward the satisfaction of Krishna, then it becomes karma yoga. For example, in the material world, we are performing activities. Let's say, for example, we are doing business. So we are doing business, and the result of the business, the fruit, let's say the profit of the business, we are using that to gratify our senses, to the maintenance, whatever, our maintenance or relative family societies, all kind of sense enjoyment, But if the same activities we are doing, we are performing the same activities, and the result of the same activities is being used for the propagation of Krishna consciousness. So that becomes yoga. Even if it's the same activities, the activities which is being performed is not given up. But however, the result of the activities is being directed to God, to Krishna. Just like one time, one devotee, he just recently took sannyas from Prabhupada. So he recently took sannyas. But that devotee, before he came to Krishna consciousness, he was an actor. He was an actor. So after taking sannyas, so he went to Prabhupada, that's Srila Prabhupada. I'm an actor, before I became devotee. That can I not that I'm a sannyasi, is there any way can I still use my acting skills? So Prabhupada said, yes, why not? Just because you're a sannyasi doesn't mean that you give up what you have been doing. Whatever skill you doesn't mean that you give up. No, if you're an actor, if you're not, whatever it is, you can utilize that to spread Krishna consciousness. So which means he said, Prabhupada said, that's a real sannyasi. A real sannyasi is the one whereby whatever activities he used to perform, he simply uses the same activities, but for the satisfaction of the Lord. Why? Because there is no expectation of the result. One is not looking for any kind of self-satisfaction, either grossly or subtly. So, because sometimes we say, okay, I want to perform these activities. I'm not looking for any particular reward, any particular result. But at the same time, one is looking for a prestige. One is looking for recognition. One is looking for recognition that, yeah, this person, as a performer, as a performer of the activities. So that is a thorough enjoyment. That's also, it's not yoga. Let's say for a good typical example, let's say somebody, just like every morning in our temple, people are giving all kind of donation, and we announce that this person, he has given so much money, that person has given so much money, this and that. People, they like to hear themselves being called out that, oh, this person has done so much, that person has done so much. So essentially it means that, yes, we want to do something for the Lord, but we want to be recognized for what we are doing. So this is actually subtle sense enjoyment, is subtle sense gratification. It's not gross because we are not looking to gratify the senses, lust, whatever. But on a subtle platform, we want another kind of satisfaction, this kind of a mental satisfaction. So that itself, that's not pure yoga. That itself is not yoga. So therefore, the Lord is saying that, yes, when there is a giving up, the renunciation should entail not just giving up the gross sense satisfaction, but also the subtle sense gratification. That also must be given up. So if that is given up, even though one may engage oneself in all kinds of activities. One can engage oneself in all kinds of activities, but the results, both gross and subtle, it's given up. There's no expectation of result whatsoever. So that's what you call yoga. So that's what the Lord said. The yoga, because the yoga is meant to connect with the Supreme Lord. So the Lord said that the yoga is sannyas. The same thing. There's really no difference. So we have the example. My internet is unstable. Okay, I hope I'm okay. Okay, so let me see. Remove spotlight. I'm seeing some. Okay. So we have the example of Madhavendra Puri. Madhavendra Puri was a great devotee of the Lord. He was a great devotee, a pure devotee of the Lord. So he was traveling in Odisha, in Ramuna. So when he was traveling in Ramuna, at that time, he stayed in the temple of Gopinath. So when he was in the temple of Gopinath, and he saw that the pujaris, they were offering sweet rice to Lord Gopinath. It was evening time, so they are offering sweet rice to Lord Gopinath. And because Madhavendra Puri had been sent by his deity Gopa, by deity Gopa from Vrindavan, to go and get sandalwood for him, because if the Lord said that my body is hot, so I wanted to go and get sandalwood to be applied on my body. So Madhavendra Puri, he had traveled to Orisha to come and give, and it's going to bring to the Lord so that I can apply to the Lord's body, because especially North India get very, very hot in the summertime. So when Madhavendra Puri, he was in the temple of Gopinath in Ramana, and so when he saw this sweet rice, what is being offered to Lord Gopinath, so he desired within his mind that, oh, I want to be able to taste this sweet rice so that I can be able to prepare the same for my Gopa, for my Lord Gopa. I want to taste it. So he had this desire he just want to taste it so they can prepare the same thing for, for Gopa. But after this thought, he started thinking, oh, this is kind of an offense. How can I be thinking, Lord, I should not do this. This is offensive. He said, oh, so he left the temple. He left the temple and then went to a marketplace. He went to a marketplace in the town. It's because he considered himself to be an offender. So in the middle of the night, Gopinath, he appeared before the Pujari. He said, my dear Pujari, behind my altar, I'm hiding one pot of sweet rice. And this sweet rice is behind my altar. So I wanted to take this sweet rice and go to a marketplace, because my devotee is there in the marketplace. And my devotee is there in the marketplace. So take this pot of sweet rice and go and give him. So Madhavendra Puri, this Pujari was, of course, was very surprised that the Lord appeared to him in the dream that he has stolen his sweet rice, a pot of sweet rice. He's hiding it behind his altar, and he's telling the Pujari that you go and give it to my devotee who is sitting in the marketplace. So the Pujari woke up, and he was very, and then he dressed, he took bath, everything. He dressed up himself, and then went to look behind the altar, and there behind the altar was a pot of sweet rice. So you have to be a really great devotee for the Lord to steal the sweet rice for you. So this Pujari, so he took the sweet rice and then went to the marketplace. Started shouting that, who is Madhavendra Puri? Who is Madhavendra Puri? May he, whose name is Madhavendra Puri, please come out and accept this sweet rice, which the Lord has stolen for you. Please, Madhavendra Puri, please come out. You are the most fortunate person in this material world, in this world. Please come, please come. So this Pujari was shouting, looking all over the places for Madhavendra Puri. And after some time, so he finally was able to find Madhavendra Puri. So when he found Madhavendra Puri, so the Pujari, he pays full dandavat, he pays full obeisance to Madhavendra, because this person is a great devotee of the Lord. So he said, oh, my dear Prabhu, the Lord has stolen this sweet rice for you. So kindly take it. Please relish this, sweet rice. Please relish it. So, and of course, Madam Puri, of course, was very, very happy that, oh, my Lord has stolen a sweet rice for me. So anyway, so he ate the sweet rice. He ate it, and then he broke in the pots into pieces, and he kept it. He decided that he's going to be eating this every day. So after the Pujari left, so Madam Madhepuri think that where the whole town, they're going to know that the uh, the Lord has stolen a sweet trust for a devotee, for this devotee. So the whole time they're going to be saying that this devotee must be a great devotee, and everyone will want to be searching for him. So therefore, he did not want such glorification. He didn't want such fame, because naturally, a devotee is famous. So he didn't want that fame. So he simply, in the middle of the night, he simply left. He immediately left that town and went straight towards Jagannath, because he didn't want to be known as a great devotee. He didn't want to be praised and be worshipped and be honored by everyone as being a great devotee. So that's why sometimes we are doing something and then we want to be recognized for what we are doing. We want to be honored for what we are doing. So that itself is not pure devotional service. So so we can see, we can follow the footsteps of those great devotees like Madam Puris and all that. So the real sannyas, which means the real yogi, is the person who has given up all kinds of desire for personal sense gratification, either grossly or subtly, and the whole desire, the whole effort is simply, to make Krishna happy. Like this is what, like Srila Prabhupada, towards the end of his purport in this verse, he said that a Krishna conscious person has no desire for any kind of sense enjoyment. He is always engaged for the enjoyment of the Supreme. So, and of course, he said that, the Emperor said that one who has no information of the Supreme must therefore be engaged in self-satisfaction, because no one can stand on the platform of inactivity. So, because in this world, one cannot be inactive in any moment. In the chapter 3 of the Gita, so the Lord said that that no one can remain a moment without performing anything. No one can be inactive. One has to always be doing something, because the soul cannot remain dormant. Even though the Mayavadis, the so-called yogi, they may try to be inactive, but no, they always have to be active. So the perfect activity is when one is always engaged in Krishna consciousness. Because like Prabhupada mentioned, he said that all purposes are perfectly served by the practice of Krishna consciousness. So therefore, just like in our society, in our movement, all kinds of devotees are there. Either they are sannyasis, or they are grihasthas or brahmacharis. Everyone is basically engaged in the same activities, which is to engage in Harinam Sankirtan, to engage in the Sankirtan movement. Everyone is engaging in the same thing, same activities of Krishna consciousness, which is basically, our mission is to preach to the humanity. So everyone is doing the same thing. So therefore, it doesn't matter what status of life one is, as long as all of our effort is all directed towards the satisfaction of Krishna. Then when the Lord is satisfied with our activities, ultimately the soul is happy. The soul is, completely, peace is there. The Lord say, yoginam api salvation, magatin antaratmana, stradave, bhajate yoma, samajuktatamo mataha. So the Lord is saying that that yogi is always engaged in doing all those things that are meant for my satisfaction. That person is the topmost yogi. So anyway, there's so much in this chapter. There's a lot we're going to be learning. We're going to be hearing so much in this chapter. Whereby we can understand the whole thing, which can lead us to pure bhakti. Because in chapter 7, the science of bhakti begins in chapter 7, which goes from chapter 7 to chapter 12 of the Bhagavad Gita. So I'm going to stop here. If there is any question or comments, you can please. I know that I don't think we have so much of audience here today.
Thank you, Prabhu. Very nice class. Yeah, maybe it's a busy day, I think.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, a
So, yeah, there's also a little there's more on the Facebook page, but it's also a little lower than usual. So I think maybe Friday is a busy day.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you,
Sorry.
Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Hare Krishna. Thank you. Yes,
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.